you were once on the left.
Yeah.
And now you're not.
You're supposed to give me a shot when you say that. I'm supposed to get a shot at tequila.
Okay, well, we'll get one later. We'll do that. But how did that happen? I know that you talk a lot about it in your book, and one of the biggest things I want to know about is not just the things, but how did you go through thinking that you were wrong and accepting that maybe you were wrong?
Well, the acceptance part is the hard part, right?
Yeah.
Because, what happens is, and this happens to everybody that is leaving the left or is on their way out of the left or has left the left, you start realizing it's not just that you were wrong about one thing. You were wrong about a lot of things, and that the tactics that you used were probably also wrong. This is why calling everyone a bigot and a racist and a homophobe probably is not the best thing to do.
It's called gaslighting,
right?
By the way.
Well, it's called gaslighting, and in many ways, especially by today's modern left, you're really saying far more about yourself than you're saying about the people that you're attacking.
Yes.
I came around on it really because once it started to crack for me, it's sort of like once you see it, you can't unsee it. You can do a lot of work to unsee it, but you can't. And I had that famous interview with Larry Elder where he really sort of beat me down on systemic racism, and then because of that, I was like, you know what? Let me keep having this conversation. Let's see what happens. Talk to Shapiro. Talk to Dennis Prager, talk to Glenn Beck. And what I started realizing was, I suppose I had some disagreements with them on some policy stuff, but they weren't bad people. As a matter of fact, they were good people. And they were generous of spirit and time. They cared deeply about ideas. They wanted to discuss these things, you know what I mean? Like they wanted to agree to disagree. Or, look, I've debated the pro-life situation and abortion, pro-life and pro-choice with Shapiro. I've debated the death penalty with Prager. Glenn and I have a couple disagreements. It's just all irrelevant. We all want to live in the same country. I want to live in a country with people that I disagree with. You know who doesn't? Kim Jong-un.
Right. Exactly.
Not the best guy around.
That's great. So you went through that change, right? But then also, one of my favorite moments over the last couple of years was you went on tour with Dr. Jordan Peterson.
Yeah.
And I loved all of those shows. And you talked about that being life-changing as well. So talk a little bit about that experience. And then my favorite moment, I think, had to be when Jordan Peterson was talking about Bezos below the pants selfie.
Yeah,
that's what he used instead of dick pic.
Yeah. The below the pants selfie.
That's a dick pic, Jordan.
Yeah. Well, Jordan, I mean, truly touring with Jordan was absolutely life-changing. I mean, it was about a year and a half. We did about 120 shows in about 20 different countries. So we were basically on the road for a year and a half. Every other day there was a show, or sometimes we'd have 6 shows in 6 nights. Sometimes there was a day off here or there, or we'd travel to Australia or bounce through America on the road in a bus, however we could do it. But what I learned from that was this guy, look, he's a clinical psychologist, mild-mannered clinical psychologist who was not looking for fame, but he started saying something true. And when he started saying something true and then applying that to politics and current events and everything else, an awful lot of people suddenly were like, wait a minute, this guy's really doing something powerful. And then every night I would see kids, they're not kids, but young adults basically that were doing the things that he wrote in the book. They were sitting up straight with their shoulders back, standing up straight with their shoulders back. They were taking life seriously. They were cleaning their room. They were trying to be the top lobster, all the Peterson cliches I can give you. But they were doing it and it was working. And then I was meeting people and it was there. This guy, I was on drugs. Now I'm off drugs. I mended this relationship with my parents. I got a better job. And it was like every night, it was like I would meet hundreds of these people because we do meet and greets. And after you do that for so many times, if you don't realize there's something good here and something transcendent. And then what I realized was, well, like all of us, I still had things in my life that I wanted to sort through and work out and relationships I wanted to mend and everything else. And I started incorporating some of that in my life. I thought if I'm on tour with this guy and I'm not doing this stuff, then something's wrong with me. It's not the message, it's me. So I'm a better person for having done it. That's the best thing I can say about anyone, I think.
I love that. And wouldn't you say that is really the main message and the reason why everyone resonated so much with that was because we really are in a difference between victimhood and personal responsibility. And I know I get that people are turned off by the Republican pick yourself up by the bootstraps type of thing because there are things in life that are out of your control. But the taking personal responsibility and saying like, okay, this is my fault. Or not only is it just my fault, but there's something I can do about it rather than relying on someone else and being the victim.
Yeah.
Isn't that the great paradox, I guess, in our country, the two different modes of thinking?
Yeah. Well, that's the dichotomy. That's the split that's the fork in the road on this thing, that we have basically the left, which is just saying the government is going to do everything for you. It's going to tell you how much you can earn and when you can earn and when you can open your business and when you can go out of your house, and the endless cascade of things that they're basically saying we are going to do. And if we don't let you go to work, we'll give you money. Of course, it's your money in the first place, like all of the nonsense. And then there's this other side that, albeit imperfectly, is basically saying freedom is messy. We can't solve all of your problems. But look, if you can't figure out in the last year and a half between lockdowns and the economic stuff and watching rates of alcoholism explode and depression and everything else, if you can't figure out what time it is right now, then you really got to think about some stuff. You know what I mean? Like in many ways, the Democrats are doing, I don't mean this to be purely partisan, but the Democrats are doing something really spectacular for us right now. They are showing us what they are. There's almost nothing left. It is a party run by a man with dementia that everyone knows he has dementia, coupled with Marxists that are now telling, the Democratic Socialists, they used to say they were Democratic Socialists, and for years I kept saying they're going to drop Democratic. Nobody says that anymore. They're in essence, AOC is basically saying she's a socialist. Bernie is not a capitalist, obviously. So they're saying what they are, they're showing what they are, and I don't think most people want to be that. I think young people can sort of be tricked into it, but I don't think most people want to.